All right. So, Jane, here is the news for the day, or actually for the week and the past few weeks, right?
Right.
So, what actually I found was an interview with Mike Miedler, which, if no one knows, he is the CEO of Century 21 out of New Jersey, and he's the CEO of the entire franchising company. So, he was interviewed by CNBC's Squawk Box.
Hmm.
And so, what I kind of wanted to do today is, and he really just kind of gave good answers, kind of to where we are as a real estate market as of now. And so I wanted to kind of read a little bit of the questions he was asked and his response to those questions, because I think it's going to give us a good idea about what is going on in the real estate market, going into 2021 and maybe even into some of the years here. So one
Hey,
of the questions he was, oh, go
before
ahead,
you
Jane.
start on that real
Yep.
quick, I wanted to comment. He has been super. He has
Oh,
been really active. He has been texting and emailing the agents and encouraging them. And I think he's been more active than many that we've had before him.
I would totally agree with that. He is definitely engaged with his agent base, and in tune to him. He knows
Super
what our needs
nice,
are.
super encouraging.
Yeah. He's listening to everything we say. I mean, he's
Yeah.
readily available.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
I
point.
think it
Thanks, Jane.
surprised some of our agents too when they got messages. They're like, "Is this for real?" Because they weren't used to having corporate be so involved.
No, that's true. And I will say that is a rarity, and
Yes.
quite frankly, that you don't see in other brokerages and other franchises. He is absolutely available. I mean, he has a busy schedule, but he's right there for us.
Yeah.
Can't say enough. And he's done some really good things even throughout the whole company while he's had the position. So very good point. Very good point. Here's the first question he was asked. He was asked, "Is this the lowest inventory since back in the '80s?" That's what he was asked by the host. And this was his response. He said, "Yes, we are right at 2.5 months supply, way outside the normal range. Generally, it's about a 6 month supply, 1.28 million homes for sale across the country. And there's major shifts in where people are moving to. More suburban areas with space. I expect this to continue into 2021. Now, Jane, I know you and we've past few episodes, we've even talked about this, that we're seeing that pretty much across the board in the company as well. We've got a
We
lot of
are.
people moving in.
Yeah, and people are from larger cities are wanting to move into the country or move to states where the populations aren't necessarily as high as where they're coming from.
Yes. Yep. I agree. And I think we're going to see that probably continue. I'm not convinced that people are going to be going back to work in the traditional office space this year. I think the corporate world has kind of learned that there is some more. You can actually work from home and be effective.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I
we're go ahead.
think the houses that our people are looking for are more suited to that now. I think it's going to change the building industry and what they're making. And, back in the 70s, it was very popular to have a study or a library room or an office or something. And then building standards and plans have kind of gotten away from those separate spaces into more open areas, open living. And I think it's going to change some of what people want.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Here's the next question. There were some interesting trends that we were already seeing before the pandemic. This is the host asking him that question. Millennials getting out there and buying homes was starting to increase. When the pandemic goes away, what is all this going to look like? How much of this was from the pandemic and not? His response was, a lot of it is driven by the pandemic. Demand will come from a large number of Gen-Zers buying their first home. Expect 24/7 cities to regain some strength. But the driving force will not just be from the first-time home buyers, which still make up about 32% of the market, but millennials will be a large part. There are 9 million of them out there that really are the driving force behind the demand. And what we are seeing, unfortunately, is you get a whole lot of first-time home buyers that are making 5 to 10, 15 offers and not getting accepted. So they get a little bit frustrated, and you might say a little bit of a lull because of people taking a break from the home buying process. It's a generational shift we are seeing, and this is going to continue well into 2021. More households are going to be forming across the U.S. So we got a new generation coming up.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about marketing and prospecting and all that, we're talking about 90 million millennials entering into the housing market. That's a strong buying force right there.
Yeah. And it will affect the way we do business as agents as well. the way they prefer to be contacted, the different things that they're looking for is quite different than what we've done in the past.
Well, that's a very good point. Yeah, we got to be ready to adapt again. I mean, that's the one thing about this industry that is always relevant. You got to adapt. It changes very, very fast. In spite of any pandemic or anything, it changes fast.
It does.
He said, and the next question was, what has this done to pricing? He said, it's been crazy for pricing. That's the one thing you start worrying about. Affordability in general. We have now had 105 straight months of year-over-year price gains. The median home price around the country is right around $311,000, according to NAR. Here's the thing, though. If you look at the median price of a home at the interest rates we are currently at, it's still cheaper to buy a median-priced home and pay the mortgage than it is to rent. Math, guys. So if you're out there and you want to prospect and you want to get some prospects, take that information to a tenant that has good income and convince them, hey, look, guys, you can buy a house and be in it for way less than what you're paying for rent.
Yeah. And with rentals, when you're done renting, you have nothing, you get nothing back. Where, if you move from one home to another, oftentimes you will make a profit in between. Yeah,
absolutely true. All right, and then the last question he was asked, where are you seeing the hottest markets at the biggest price spikes? As you can imagine, a lot of people are fleeing the big cities, New York, San Francisco, Chicago, etc. They are headed to the places like New Jersey. You see a lot of people going to rural mountain towns, which is majority about what we are. And our next guest as well, Johnny, he's from West Virginia, so it'll be his market as well. They're fleeing to these mountainous rural areas. They want more space. They want homeschool rooms. We mentioned this, Zoom rooms and workout rooms. They want land. They want that space. They're working from home. They want to have a way to basically that home has now become their catch-all. Their whole life is being run from there. And so that's what we're going to start seeing, like you were mentioning earlier, the trends, right? The building trends are going to change. The way we're structuring and building homes is going to change because of this. There's going to be more people working from home.
Well, and imagine living in an apartment complex where you had virtually no outdoor space during this time. It would be torture. Not to be able to be outside. For the longest time, the parks were closed. There was nowhere to go outside if you didn't own, a backyard or an area you could be in.
Yeah, totally agree. They want that space. Well, Jane, that's all the news I got. I just thought that interview was really good. It just really kind of highlighted a bunch of key points that we've already been kind of seeing. So I just definitely wanted to kind of share that a little bit and dive into that.